Lay. Sir. Yeah. Yeah.
Kane is in the building.
Alright, already the show goes on all night. Till the morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the sun? Just remember when you come up, the show goes on. Alright, already the show goes on all night. Till the morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the sun? Just remember when you come up, the show goes on.
Have you ever had the feeling that you was being had? Don't that shit that make you mad? They treat you like a slave, put chains all on your soul and put whips up on your back. They be lying through they teeth, hope you slip up off your path. I don't switch up, I just laugh, put my kicks up on they desk, unaffected by they threats. Then get busy on they see, that's how that shit tell me, man, that's how my
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Overseas Famous Podcast. I'm Kevin Owens, and we're going to be talking a little bit overseas basketball, but mainly today we're going to be talking with Malik Ellison. Malik is just starting his career, which is one of the cooler things that we've had on the show. We've done a lot with guys who have played or who are currently, playing. Malik is starting his career, so we kind of get that ground floor of what happens during that process, going from college into the pros, and especially with this year, with the COVID year, kind of everyone lost that year. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But Malik, what's up? Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on the show.
Thanks. And, obviously, we'd like to introduce Dom. Dom Farrow is the intern, is our intern today. He's going to be, like we did the intern contest. We're giving everyone a shot. So Cam was on last week. Dom's on this week. So it's going to be fun. Dom, psyched to have you on.
I'm happy to be back. Can't wait.
Awesome. And, of course, Michaela, the lovely Michaela joining us, always ready to rock and roll and do fun things and be awesome.
Oh, thanks.
All right. So let's get into the meat and potatoes here. So first thing, Malik, I think with college basketball, the crazy thing, we're all watching the NCAA tournament. Now, the first question I have is kind of a put you on the spot, but I'm going to go first and just admit. So when I left Monmouth in 2003, the next year they made the NCAA tournament, and I was like, I took 90% of the credit for it because I was like, well, I did, my leadership obviously led these guys to become an incredible team. And they just pulled it off. But there was definitely a part of me that was like super jealous. And I was like, because we went in 2001 and I was like, yeah, we're going to get back there. And we never did. And then they went like right after I left. And I was like, shit. Do you have that at all? Like, you leave Hartford and then the guys kind of come back and they make the tournament this year. Was there any of that? Or were you just like, yeah, that's 90% me right there?
Yeah, I was definitely, I was like mad and happy at the same time. Not mad, I guess sad more. Because, like, for me, like, I don't know if you guys knew this, but last year we were in the championship and they canceled. So, like, the fact that we didn't get to play to get a chance to go to March Madness for me was just, like, devastating in my last year. So, like, fast forward to this year when they made it and I saw, like, my guys, like, my old teammates celebrate. And I'm like, man, I wanted that moment last year. But, like, I was happy for them, too. So, but when it comes to the 90% thing, definitely.
Well, it's so true, and I feel like there's the tournament getting canceled sucks because there's so many what ifs, especially with something of this magnitude. Everyone dreams of that being in one shining moment and all these things, and to kind of we'll talk about Pitt and we'll talk about St. John's, but with that last chance on your graduate year, and then the tournament gets canceled. That's like, it's something that no one can ever make up. And I think we talk a little bit about COVID with like guys, playing professionally and, might have lost a spot or here and there, but to be that so close, like not even playing that championship game, that's crazy. That's a crazy feeling to just walk away and be like, now what?
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's
Didn't
all.
feel real. Yeah.
Yeah.
Malik, could you could you take us through that moment when your coach told you guys that the championship game got played? Because that was something that had never really happened before. So what were you and your teammates thinking when you got told that news?
So I mean, it was for me, like we kept hearing, that the possibility was there that it would be canceled. So I wasn't surprised, but we were all just like in shock. Like there was really no emotion. Some guys were crying, but like me personally, I wasn't crying or nothing. I was just like, man, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I don't know how to react. And then as soon as he told us, we all ended up just going back in the gym and playing pickup because we're like, the season's really over. Like we were supposed to play 2 days later on TV in the championship. So it was crazy. Like it didn't feel real. Like I told Kevin just earlier.
That's nuts. I mean, you look back at those college days and just what an experience. Your college career though was super cool. I mean, you've been known for having great leadership skills. That's one thing that a lot of people have said about you. You're a strong leader. You lead by example. You're tough. You finish. So it's fun to kind of get the a little bit of the Hartford. Now let's kind of go back into the Pitt. You're start at St. John's, then you go to Pitt, and we talk so much about the transfer portal. I swear to God, everything I look on Twitter, it's like every other tweet is just like this person entered the transfer portal, this person, and there's like so many two sides of everything. And some people are like, stay and fight it out, and other people are like, no, like this is a business. And despite the NCAA saying that it's not, and we're all, you're an amateur athlete, it is a business. And that's what my point of view is. Like, this is a business. So you always have to look out for yourself. So take us through kind of that St. John's into your first transfer from St. John's into Pitt. What was the decision? What was it like? And what went into that process where you're like, this isn't a good fit for me?
Mm-hmm. That was definitely the most awkward situation I've ever been. Because like when I announced I was transferring from St. John's, I had asked one of my coaches, like, could we meet to talk, because they had just named me captain. Like I think it was the day before, honestly. So I get named team captain, and and I'm just like, oh man, they have no idea I'm leaving. So I go in the office, and I'm thinking it's just the head coach, Chris Mullen, and it ends up being all the coaches. So I'm like surrounded by like 6 coaches, right? And it was really awkward. I ended up telling them. They were disappointed. They had their opinions, and and then from there, like they kind of just were just acting kind of different towards me, because I was still there. I had to finish up the year. I had like 2-3 months left, so it was just awkward. But I decided to leave St. John's just because like I felt like it wasn't the right fit for my game. Like I started there every game, and I played well, but it just wasn't really my style. So I was like looking to go somewhere where like I could be better fit to kind of help my like progression moving forward. And when I met the guys at Pitt, I just felt like it was a perfect situation at that time.
So you kind of, when going into the transfer portal, it becomes almost like a recruiting process once again. You're right back into it, and teams are right back to what you were in high school: letters, calls. Like, hey, and you get visits and stuff. Take us through that experience, like kind of knowing what college is like. You kind of have a step up than like, a kid who's a senior in high school who's just like, oh shit, like I have no idea what this is going to be. Now you kind of know what to look for. I think that's like such an important step.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it was it helped being already like experienced 2 years of college. So in the next go around when I went through that portal, just talking to different coaches, I understood like which coaches I could trust and which ones I couldn't really trust, that they were probably just telling me what I wanted to hear. So it helped definitely. And it was fun the second time around, because the first time I think I took 2 official visits, I think. And my second time around, I did all 5. So it was enjoyable.
That is awesome. Going into Pitt, you said it was the best fit. You go there. You have an incredible career at Pitt, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Michaela's got some good Pittsburgh questions. So Michaela and Dom right now are both at Duquesne, so they're right there. They're in that Pittsburgh area. So you got a little bit of Pittsburgh love right out there too, because they're Pittsburghese. And Dom, you're like hardcore Pittsburgh, right?
Oh yeah, bleed black and gold.
So going into Pitt, take us through that experience. You're coming into a new situation. The team's kind of already there, but at the same time, it's like you're not a freshman, but you're not a senior. You just are coming in. How was that kind of adjusting with the rest of the guys in the team?
It was actually pretty easy because a lot of the guys that came in at Pitt, they were freshmen coming in. Like, it was a young team my first year. So when I got there, I was one of the older guys on the team, but I was still only 20. But it was great. Like, the coaches were awesome. They did a bunch of things to kind of like, team bonding events, things like that. We all were like hanging out, getting to know each other like better. We kind of like, I knew a couple guys just from playing. You know how it is when you play basketball. It's kind of like a small world. So I already knew a couple faces in the locker room already. But yeah, overall, it was awesome. That first year at Pitt, man, it went by so fast because I had so much fun, but I had to sit out. So it was just a year for me to kind of just get better and get acclimated with, the state and everything, the school. It was a much bigger school than St. John's. So it was different, but it was fun.
Was that also Coach Capel's first year as head coach at Pitt?
No. So it was Kevin Stallings who recruited me. He came from Vanderbilt. He did really well there, but he gets fired the year that I was eligible to play. So that's kind of what was tricky about that situation. Capel's a great coach, great dude, but obviously, he had his guys that he was bringing in, so it kind of like conflicted with me and my future goals.
And you talked a little bit about it's a small world with basketball, and it's crazy because I was telling them, we kind of met at a basketball court. We're both. I remember I just looked at you and I was like, I watched you shoot, and I was like, he's playing somewhere. Like, he's freaking good. I just watched you shoot. I was like, yep, I'm gonna go introduce It's like I'm such a weird, that weird nerdy kid who's just like, hi, how are you? Do you play basketball? And it's just like the same shit that people have said to me my whole life. And I'm just like, oh, don't be that guy. But it's funny because as soon as I talked to you, I was driving home and I was like, oh shit, I know you. So you went to At the Top camp in Audubon, because I remember, because your dad, Purvis Ellison, I remember talking to your dad at the Top camp, and he was just like, he was there and he's like, yeah, I want you to work with, but you were like young. You were like, I was young. I think I was still playing at the time. Do you remember ever going there? It was at the Top camp in like Audubon, New Jersey.
I don't remember that, but it's funny. I do remember like looking at you when we met at Virtua. I was like, you look familiar, but I wasn't sure. I was trying to connect the dots. I knew you played basketball just because and stuff, but I don't remember that. Yeah,
it's crazy because I thought, and I was like, oh shit, because I knew your dad a little bit, but just from like the New Jersey kind of, the same way you're saying, everyone in the basketball world's a small community when you're kind of, you have that higher level basketball. So I knew your dad a little bit just through, I knew he coached, a few different teams and stuff. But then as I'm driving, I'm just like, yeah, that's Purvis's son. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, I knew Malik. I was like, I remember him when he was a little kid. I was like, that's so crazy. So it's a small world. So back to being a small world. So going back into you kind of mentioned, a new coach came in. It didn't really fit your style. You end up going to Hartford your graduate senior year. Again, was that a tough decision again to be? And I think graduate transferring especially when you're a graduate, is like a very common thing. It's like, listen, like you guys have I've been, I'm hopping over and I'm gonna take my act over here. Was that a tough decision to leave Pitt, and just were you kind of like, I don't want to transfer again?
No, it actually wasn't hard. I got to give a lot of credit to the coaches there because they I think I was so well respected there that it wasn't one of those situations where I transferred and they were mad or
Mhm.
they had any like bad taste in their mouth. Like they were like, look, man, we understand. We want you to be successful and we know you can like give more like to college basketball elsewhere. So I'm like, you know, that's all I needed to hear. So I was ready to go. Um, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do transferring from Pitt. I said, I want to go like a step down,
Mhm.
not somewhere where it's like too low, but definitely not high major because like the situation, me being a grad student, I'm like, this is like my last year. I need to put on a show, put up some numbers so that I can, get ready for pro. So give my best, give myself the best opportunity to play at the highest level. So I was like, I had schools, and one of them was like Gonzaga and Arizona State. Like those were like the big names. And I'm like, man, I don't want it because they were telling me like, you would play here, but you would just be another role guy. You know, obviously those are great teams. And
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, I want to go somewhere and be the man. So that's why I decided to go to Hartford. It was like an easy decision.
And you had a tremendous career, tremendous year at Hartford. Just looking at your stats are like mind blowing there. You were, like you said, I think it was such a good situation, good fit because leadership wise, a lot of things, that I've read and seen and heard about that year in Hartford, like you were just, you got these guys to that level to then, ends up kind of crapping out at the end with COVID hitting. But going back into COVID last year, I think you were in the toughest situation because we talked a lot about the G League became a bubble. It was a month long. Summer League became crap. It was just like the draft, training camp, and then that was it. Like nothing could occur. So a guy who was like a highly touted guy coming out, it became very difficult for you to kind of get into and break into that. So how difficult has it been to kind of spend this summer or the year kind of just continuing to train on your own because there's nothing really like what can you do? Like there's nothing really for you.
It was so difficult. Like this year it taught me a lot. Like I appreciate the year, but man, it was so tough because like you said, like for me coming out after the year I had like invites to different combines like the Portsmouth and a couple other ones, the 3v3 tournament, which is televised, probably some workouts that were going to be lined up. So it was just like everything got canceled and it happened so fast. So for me, I was just like, man, like what a guy like me kind of needs that, coming from a smaller school. I'm like, I need those workouts. So then I kind of started looking, fast forwarding to like August, like late August, September. And I just remember like they were saying like there's no G League right now. So I'm like, man, I got to go overseas. And they're like overseas is kind of sketchy. The numbers, the money's not right. Some teams are sending players back because of just, COVID in general. It was all messed up. So I
Mhm.
decided not to go. I had a couple offers to go like play in Finland and a couple other spots, but I'm like, you know what? I think the best decision for me is to kind of just stay here, keep working, and next year everything will be a lot better than this past year. So
That is a crazy decision. I mean, because everything is you've spent what 9 years from high school through college playing every year with like a goal with that team with that goal in mind, and finally that goal comes in like fucking COVID, and there's not many people that can experience that. And I feel like there's a lot of people, the world shut down, and some people are like, oh, this is great. Some people are like, oh, this is crazy. But no one really thinks about those athletes who, who are so close to what it could be. And then it just shuts down. And now you're like, should I go? And overseas was a shit show. Trust me. Like we've interviewed a ton of people. It's been a shit show this year. There's a lot of nonsense. There's a lot of backroom dealings and stuff. And COVID gives teams even more of an excuse to kind of like F over players.
yeah.
So it's been crazy. So you probably made the right decision just to kind of keep working and getting everything lined up. Do you have stuff lined up now for the summer to kind of get back into the swing of things?
Yeah, so that was another thing about COVID in general was that it allowed me to kind of like switch agents. So I signed with CAA at first, this guy that works there, and like they're probably one of the bigger ones.
Mm.
It was the worst decision I could have made because being a small fish in that big pond is like, it's not where you want to be. So it allowed me to step outside of that situation and find an agent that actually compliments me. You know what I'm saying? Like my personality on and off the court. So like I found a guy now, and I think I told you when we met, he's just been awesome. Like we've been kind of discussing like the future and how he's been talking to a couple NBA teams, and they're just like, yeah, you know, once we kind of get the go ahead to allow guys to come in and work out, like your guy will definitely have the opportunity. So, and they're thinking about the summer league this summer, which is great. Yeah, that's kind of like what I'm aiming toward, and then kind of just building off of that, seeing where that takes me, you know, hearing what these teams have to say, and if I gotta, you know, which route is the best to take, whether it's the G League and, you know, try to get the two-way deal or whatever, or maybe go play in South America or overseas and come back. So we'll see.
Yeah, I always think about, you know, the summer league is so important because you get your name attached to summer league, like it's a wrap. Like you know that summer league team takes you, you know, that contract. If you go overseas, it boosts that contract by like $200,000. You go to the G League, it's like you're instantaneous. Oh, you play in the summer league, you're on board. It's like it's a huge thing. And then on top of that, you know, every NBA team's just like watching and seeing and being like, yep, let's bring him in. And that's super cool. I think it's like, it's for a guy like your ability to stay so focused and keep your eye on that goal is tremendous, because most people, how many people would, I'm sure there's other stories of guys just being like, screw this. Like, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to do this. I'm like, I can't do this. But your ability to stay focused on your dream is like commendable. It's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Oh, I was going to say, Dom, you got anything?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what was it like transferring to Hartford? Like, what was the influence that your childhood friend Tracy Carter had on both of you guys going to Hartford that season?
Oh man, I'm glad you mentioned that. He was the exact reason why I went there. I didn't even know about Hartford, truth be told. Those guys know that. Coach Gal knows that. But Tracy announcing that he wanted to go there, I just remember seeing it, and I was just so happy for him, because I'm like, man, that's a great opportunity for you to go in there and just put up numbers like you deserve to. And I just remember him telling me, like, man, like, where are you looking at? Like, you should come and join me. And I never thought about it until he said it. And I was like, there's no better way to do it than to do it with someone that, you know, you grew up playing with. For like, we started playing together in 6th grade. So it was honestly the best decision I've probably made up until that point. And it was just amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's always key to have a, you know, have a friend. I feel like that's what happened. I went overseas, and then I went back to the D League or the G League because one of my close friends who I played with that the year before was just like, come back. Like, I'm not doing this without you. I was like, all right. So I came back, and it was what a difference, like where your life can go just based on, you know, and I feel like the comfort level is huge too.
It really is. Yeah.
Michaela, what do we got?
Yay. So, great. Now it's just like the fun stuff. That's my job, Malik, is just like run the social media, do the fun stuff. Okay. So when you were at Pitt, did you like travel around Pittsburgh and the surrounding suburbs a lot, or you just kind of stayed in Oakland?
Probably stayed in Oakland a lot. We went to Southside. Southside was really nice. The nightlife, yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, so I made some like Philly versus Pittsburgh questions because, you know, Jersey people, we love to go into Philly for the weekend. You know, that's like when I first moved here, I was like, oh, I'm from Philly. And they're like, oh, where? I'm like, I lied. I'm near Philly. But
Phillyville.
That's what we all say.
It's just like, maybe I'll get some
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. So Well, that was one of my first questions is, we're just going to do some this or that. Like, which one would you rather do on a weekend or whatever? So would you rather go to South Street or South Side?
Wow. Honestly, probably South Side.
Yeah.
I have to give him credit. Yeah.
I used to live in South Side. Those were the days. In my undergrad, that was wild. So for those of you who haven't been here, or Dom, have you been to Philly?
Yeah, I've been to Philly before.
Okay. Well, for Kevin and John, South Side is like the same thing as South Street, but it's a little crazier.
Right on the list. We're going there next.
Yeah, seriously. Show. South Side.
And if you ever went like during, I'm trying to think. I had Heinz Field or Lincoln Financial Field, but I was like, yeah, that's not fair. The view from Heinz Field is way better. So like on an NFL game day, would you rather go to the North Shore or would you rather go to Xfinity Live?
So I'm going to be completely honest. I never really experienced the Xfinity Live, but I heard it's crazy. So I guess I'm going to have to say Xfinity. Like I've seen videos and it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Xfinity Live is definitely crazy. Like, so I went there on like a few bachelor parties. There's like there's like the Mechanical Bull. Yeah. There's like 15 different bars. It's like, it's wild. But the Mechanical Bull one, yeah.
So,
that could get you in some trouble. There's a lot of, we almost got kicked out several times.
Yeah, no, it's wild. I've been to both, and like, so the North Shore is like, there's a bunch of different bars, and it's like walkable to Heinz Field. Like that's where Heinz Field is, So for game days, because like the Philly Sports Complex is like all those sports in one, everyone just goes to Xfinity Live, and Pittsburgh is almost set up the same way that PNC Park and Heinz Field are in the North Shore. There's a place called Tequila Cowboy with a Mechanical Bull, Kev. So we'll get you out here. We'll get you back on the bull.
I heard there's a good North Shore podcast. Someone told me that once.
Oh yeah, I've heard about it.
Chickies and Pete's or Permane Brothers?
Chickies and Pete's.
Oh, come on, Malik. Come on, Malik.
Permane Bros is overrated. Oh man.
Agreed.
That's disrespectful.
Every Pittsburgh person talks about it. Oh.
It's so great because I don't know any of the Pittsburgh ones. I'm just like, yeah, Heinz. Like I've never heard of the other one. I'm like, yeah, Chickies and Pete's.
They honestly treat Permane Bros like a Philly cheesesteak, and it's
God,
it's not even. Yeah.
So I was just wondering that, guys. Like, what's the Pittsburgh like food? Like Philly, like you can't watch an Eagles game or a Phillies game without them showing a cheesesteak. In Pittsburgh, what is it? Like, what do you eat? Like, what's the number one dish that's known for, like, Pittsburgh?
I've honestly never eaten as much, like, buffalo chicken dip and fried pickles as I have.
Fried pickles. Okay.
It's, like, weird. Like, I don't know why that comes to mind. And Permane Brothers has really good fried pickles. But, like, I don't know, Dom, what would you say? Pierogies? Or Malik?
Pierogies is a good one, but I think the Permane sandwich, it's just a classic. You got the fries, the coleslaw. It's a full meal in one sandwich. It's delicious.
Wait. They put it all in one sandwich?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
All in one sandwich.
Yeah.
It's overhyped, though. Don't get excited. Get excited. Sorry, Dom.
Their fries aren't that good, but inside the sandwich, it's perfect.
I just think it'd be better if they toasted the bread. In my opinion.
Their bread is delicious, though.
I for my carbs, though, it's got to be toasted.
I feel like these are the fun things. This is like what our show needs to become, is just a travel food channel. Because I feel like that's the cool thing, is going around sampling different foods and like drinks and stuff like that. Because that's what the culture is. Like that's what people, that's why athletes go to certain cities. Like every single thing, obviously, with all the thing in the NBA, guys are going into LA or to Brooklyn because they're, the rings. But how many guys if a contract, they're like, okay, we can go to Miami or Philly. Like, I love Philly, but like come on, there's like a little bit of a difference between Miami and Philly. Like if you're just if you're not from Philly, I would be like, see ya. Like I'm going to Miami. Why would I go to Philly? It's just like buildings and cement.
Well, what if you're a history buff? Come on.
Yeah.
Kev.
True. Listen, if I'm a history buff, I'm going.
Yeah, right.
I'm still going to Miami and fucking watching the History Channel. I'll just like do it on the beach. There's like so many more. I don't know. Miami is just, it's just the way to go. Although I'm like weird, like, you know, the Disney thing, Orlando would be a cool destination for me. Because I feel like I would overdo Disney. Like I love Disney World. And like my daughter, you know, when I've gone with her twice. It's incredible. Like Epcot, I'm just like a huge Disney. Maybe I'm just like a little kid, but that's up my alley. If they were just like you could go anywhere.
I'm always in the minority on this, Kev. Like I'm not a beach person. I grew up going to the beach. My family liked the beach, but the sand and stuff like that. And I'm too much of a get up and go kind of person. So like if you were like you can do a week in New York City or a week at Miami Beach, I would probably pick a week in New York City. So much to do, shows, sports, catch a game, that kind of thing. But and I always catch shit for it because of that. Because everyone's like, "Oh, you go to the beach," but yeah, it's not my thing.
I just like the fact, like one of my close friends lives in LA, and he's just like every day he wears like a t-shirt. And like it doesn't rain. Like to me, that's like so awesome to just like Miami would get old. I feel like in the summer, I'm like, all right, it's 110 degrees and like the humidity is like 137. Like this is horrible. But like LA, it's like constantly good. Yeah. And I feel like the weather plays a big role. Like I used to like the seasons, and now that I'm like getting older, I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna move to LA and just.
Then you got to deal with the traffic. Isn't that like the big thing out in LA? The traffic.
Yeah.
I heard it's brutal.
Yeah.
I can't sit in traffic. I don't like sitting in traffic out here in the burbs of South Jersey. No. But I got to
like on 295, just like this sucks. Like waiting for 5 minutes. Everyone's ready to kill each other.
Pittsburgh's always cloudy. Pittsburgh's cloudy, like 75%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really rough. That's the one thing I miss about home. But it's funny you said the beach. I was gonna ask Malik, would you rather go down the shore? Or would you rather go to like a lake, like Erie or Ohio Pile or something?
Oh, definitely the shore, beach.
Oh God, I'm just making sure you're right in the head. But like,
Definitely the beach.
Dom is like stabbing his desk.
Beach. This shore. What is this shore you speak of?
The shore. So yeah, there's like a lot of people who don't. Yeah, you know. I think that the Jersey Shore made it, you know, a bigger thing. But like just saying I'm going to the shore, people would be like, what?
The shore.
Like, oh.
that's kind of.
That was it, Michaela. Sorry.
They were all food based, and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna think all we do is talk about food. Wawa or Sheets?
Oof.
Wawa.
Okay. And Pitt frat party or Temple frat party?
Pitt frat party.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Pitt's crazy. Party school, crazy.
That's cool. I feel like, I've heard that from a few people, that Pitt's like a good time.
So I like coming from St. John's. New York is obviously nice, but it wasn't like the biggest school. So like you only went out on the weekends. At Pitt, this is no exaggeration, every day there was something to do. Like we didn't do everything, you know, because we were playing and stuff. But I had like the walk-ons and like the managers, they would get drunk every day. Come to practice just reeking. Talking about how they just were lit at a party. Like Pittsburgh was something to do every day.
And I will say, Kevin, you said for neighbors, but like Pitt and Duquesne are literally like you could take Forbes Ave and just be at Pitt. Like it's literally less than a mile away.
Is it like Drexel Penn kind of thing where it's like they're like super close?
Yeah. I mean, it's a highway, but we Ubered. Once I found out Duquesne was not a party school, I was like, okay.
I do like the stories of the walk-ons, because I always find it fascinating with college basketball. Like the walk-ons, their lives. I've read Mark Titus's book, and he's got the whole podcast on the Big Ten, and like his experiences are fascinating because they don't have the same. They're walk-ons, so yes, they have to show up to practice. Yes, they have to do this. But like, there's no pressure for them to play in a game. There's no pressure for them to like take on that role. But they're also like part of the team. So like they get all the glory of being part of like this big time program. but they don't have to do like the hard stuff. I'm like close friends with the guys who walked on still to this day, who were walk-ons at Monmouth. And I was just like, but yeah, it was the same thing. They would just go and party, and we would be like, we were playing the NCAA tournament, and like there's all these things we would have a game the next day, and they'd be like 3 a.m. laughing in the hall. I'd be like, what the fuck? This is crazy.
Walk-ons have the greatest life in college.
It's incredible. It's the best life ever. You get to go out and do layup lines. You get to experience the crowd. Like, you're part of the team. It's awesome. And then you just sit there and you're just like, cool. Like, go ahead, do your thing, guys. I'll be right here.
I don't know if you guys did this, but we would have away games, and like at Pitt, you know, we went to like Miami, and we went to Charlotte, Georgia Tech. Like, those are all like downtown.
Mm-hmm.
They would just go out the night before. Like, I'm like, dude, you guys are lucky, man. Going out to Miami like the night before we play them.
Yeah. And especially because I feel like in college, there's like so little time.
Yeah.
You know, you fly down there. You're flying down like the day before the game, or maybe 2 days, and it's like you don't really have that time. And then you play the game, and then it's like pretty much you have an early flight the next morning, and you didn't really get to experience it.
We never slept over.
Oh, really? You just out?
Right after, yeah.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, those walk-ons were living that life.
Living.
So take us through the last thing I want to talk about is, because it's always interesting to kind of have like, you know, and obviously we'll talk, you know, your dad, your relationship, you know, you grew up with an NBA player as a father. So that obviously had to help, you know, you develop. So I always get like starstruck. Like if I was being coached, you know, like when you go to St. John's and you're like Chris Mullin, you're like, holy shit, dream team Chris Mullin. But does that like kind of fade a little bit when, you know, you're like, oh, well, my dad's Purvis Ellison. Like, screw you, Chris Mullin.
It definitely did. But Chris Mullin, like, he was super cool. And him being a Hall of Famer was just like, I just remember playing with him in like NBA 2K or something. Like, it was pretty crazy, like him coaching me. But like you said, like, I feel like being there, after a while, I just kind of got used to it.
Yeah.
And like other people would like make our team realize how big he was. Cause like we would go on road trips, and no lie, there would be like 30 people lined up at the bus, like waiting for him to come out of the hotel and go on the bus. Every road trip. Yeah. So, but you get used to it, just like being around him every day. Yeah. But he was cool, man. He was super humble, just super chill guy.
That's what I've heard a lot of good stories about him. Same thing, you know, as a coach. I always think like, I remember I went to 5-star, and it was probably like 1996, 1997. And Christian Laettner was my counselor. Now this is like 1996. Like this is like 4 years after he hit the shot versus Kentucky. And he was like a god, because like, you know, that was the shot I remember. I was like, holy shit, that was like what got me into basketball. I remember watching that game with like no vested interest, no rooting interest, and just watching him shoot and just being like, seeing the crowd and being like, oh my God, that was such a cool moment. So I feel like I was fanboying like big time. I was like, oh my God, it's Christian Laettner. And I feel like that was something that I experienced like from a young age. Did you have that because, you know, you had, you know, opportunity, and you knew, you know, a lot of NBA guys probably at that time? Did you ever have that experience where you're just, you're kind of like, oh shit, like this guy's teaching me how to do, you know, how to do a spin move or something?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I definitely took for granted like a couple people, like Dominique Wilkins. Like I used to literally be at his house all summer, like just hanging out with like him, my dad, and like the family. And I never, you know, like he wasn't like that big of a deal for me.
Yeah.
But I realized like he's a major deal in basketball. But the guy, like honestly, like meeting LeBron James the first time, when I went, I was in, what grade was I in? I think 5th grade. And this is back when, you know, everybody's favorite player was LeBron James for sure.
Yeah.
Like when I was coming up. So I just remember my dad taking me to the Sixers game when they played. This is like 06, or no, this is earlier. This is maybe like 05, like when he's like real young.
Yeah.
And he takes me in a locker room, and I just this only time it's ever happened. He takes me in a locker room, and I just like went speechless. And he goes, "Yo, like go walk over to him and talk to him." I'm like, "What? Like, how am I gonna do that? What am I supposed to say?" So I go up to him, and I was stuttering. I don't have a stutter. I was stuttering, couldn't say anything. But I just remember him just being mad cool too, and he just like talked to me for like 5 minutes and just gave me his shoes. Like it was mad dope. But like you said, like how you looked at Christian Leitner, that was like my moment where I was like, wow, like this is a legend right here. And I just met him, just talked to him, and that was like, I want to do this. I want to play basketball. Was that moment when I started taking it serious? Probably in like 5th grade.
I feel like that I've had like the moment you described is like my dad being like, go introduce yourself to like your fucking T-ball coach and don't be a dick. And I'd be like, walk up, be like, hi, be like, be nice. And it was like, yours is to like LeBron James. They're like, oh, go say hi to your coach and be polite. That's awesome though.
Yeah, it was crazy experience.
That is. And I feel like those are the most fun. I feel like just, being a basketball player, like you said, it's such a small community, and I feel like you meet so many people, and you don't even realize the connections that you make until you're kind of older. I always think back, like I'm just even like guys who are playing the league now. I'm like, Balchunas, and I was like, oh, I played against him when I was overseas, and who else? There's like a few other guys. I'm just like, what's his name? Ursan Ilyasova. Like I played against him in the D League and a few times, like, and I'm just like, I'll sit there and point it out to my daughter, like, Daddy played against him, and she's like, cool, and just goes back to watching her iPad. But it's like one of those things where the connections are all over, and the guys you play against, and then they become big stars, and you become a big star, and you're just like, oh shit, this is awesome. Yeah. But I think that's it's super cool to kind of have that experience.
Yeah, that's like, honestly, that's like the best thing about sports in general. I feel like that people don't. I mean, people might know, but I feel like when you play and you like experience that, like all the connections you make is just, it's so crazy. Like you said, like you're playing against dudes that are playing now. You know what I mean? And for me too, like growing up playing, like I was teammates with Carl Towns at one point. Guys like that where you're just Donovan Mitchell's, like, and they blow up to like where they're at now. It's awesome. You know what I mean? But that's just a small community, like you said, like with basketball and sports in general. I'm sure it's like that in any other sport, but especially like basketball, I feel like you just run across so many different people in your career.
Yeah, it's true. Donovan Mitchell, Carl Towns, or like Carl Anthony Towns, his dad played at Monmouth. And like, I didn't know that until Carl Anthony Towns became, who he was. It was just like, I remember looking at the thing and being like, okay, who do I have to pass in the 1,000-point scores? I'm like, Carl Towns, like, fuck that guy. Like, I got him. Meanwhile, his son's like, yeah, one of the best NBA players.
Malik,
Jersey, right? Oh, my bad, Tom.
Sorry, Malik, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just asking.
I just had one more question for you, and that is, what was the experience like playing at the PPG Paints Arena in the City game versus Duquesne? And why do you think Pitt is scared to play Duquesne in the City game?
Oh, man. Well, the second part to that, I don't know if that's true, but just messing with you. I don't know why they didn't play him. It's been 2 years, right? I think it's been like 2 years since they played him. That's weird. Yeah.
I think the game that you played in was the last City game.
Yeah, that's really weird. But dude, that like when they talk about rivalries, at St. John's I had it with Georgetown. That game was pretty dope. But that Pitt Duquesne was just different because it was like literally everybody in Pittsburgh was talking about it. Like it was the whole week was just strictly about who's the best in the city, who's gonna win the game, this, that, and the third. And I remember like our record, we were like, what were we? I think we were like 7-1 or 8-0 at the time, and they were like 7-1, and they were like they were pretty good too. Like they were probably like 8-1 or something. So just going into that game, we were all just so amped up, and we're like, man, we're gonna win this game. Like then we're all gonna go out and party after in Southside, and that's what happened. We ended up winning by like 30, and we didn't go to Southside, but we went to like some like they had a bunch of parties on campus, and everybody was just it was wild. That was one wild game and wild night. It's crazy. But yeah, it was legendary, that rivalry.
Need to bring it back.
Yeah, they need to bring that back. It's crazy.
It's like Big Five, like the Big Five, all that. Palestra.
Who were you guys' rivalry at Mama?
It was we had like a lot of the Jersey schools. Like we played Seton Hall, and we always, it was always a really good game. And that was like our rivalry because they were, bigger than we were. But I remember playing Seton Hall, and we always gave them a game. It was always super close. And we were just like pesky, and they were probably like, have huge schools next, and they're like, oh, Monmouth. And then they come in and they'd be like, come on, man. Like we should be, it's like one of those games. I feel like when you're at the smaller school, you play those big time schools, and they're just like, if you're competing and it's the fourth or like, second half, and it's still a game, they would be pissed because they're like, I should be subbing you out. Like we have a big game in 2 days. Like you should not be playing right now. You should be on the bench. And here we are with our starters in with like 2 minutes left because you guys were like dicking around.
Right.
They're like, no, it's because we were good. And they're like, no, it's because they were dicking around. I'm like, all right, you're right.
The hardest part about Duquesne, Don, like you were saying, is like Duquesne men's basketball, even though we're a smaller school, it's been on the up and up for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Especially when Dan Brock got there. And so that was really tough. I remember that day of the city game, and I remember hearing about it. But
did you wait? Or you said you're there now?
I'm getting my master's at Duquesne, so I decided to stay. But I've been there for the past couple of years, finishing undergrad. So
okay, nice.
That's where we both go. Yeah.
Okay, got you. Worst part about Pittsburgh is the hills, for sure.
Yeah, I got some mean quads and calves though from walking that campus. I'll tell you what.
I'm telling you, it was crazy. That was another thing for me going from St. John's to Pitt. All my classes were up the hill, down the hill. Like, it was crazy. It was brutal. Had to miss a couple classes because of that one.
You have to listen.
After practice.
Yeah, you have other things going on. Yeah, like come on. I remember in an 8:30 class, and they were just I missed it so many times to the point where like the teacher was just like, "What the like, dude? Come on, I know you play basketball, but like, what is happening?" I was like, "Fine," and I just started showing up at 8:30 at college. Like meanwhile, the year before I was at high school, like getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning to be there at 7:45, and I'm like 8:30. What a dick I was.
I had a 7 a.m. at Pitt one time.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's rough. Up a hill too. Like, yeah.
Up the hill. Yeah. 7 a.m. going up the hill.
No, thank you. I'm passing on that one.
It was rough. Really fun, but it's a rough campus because it's big and hilly.
Well, like this is super cool talking to you. The one thing that we it's fun because it's fun because we'll be able to I'll be in touch with you a lot over the summer, and it's cool to kind of see your story and where your story is going to go, and it's super fun to have you on in the beginning of your story of professional basketball. So it's been really cool for you to share your stuff, and it's been a good time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on, guys. Nice to meet the rest of you, and this is dope. So,
well,
I'll tap in.
It's cool too because next week, tune in. We'll have Malik back on. We're gonna do some. We're gonna put next week. We're gonna put John and Michaela through some basketball workouts. So Malik and I are gonna kind of throw them into a basketball workout. So you guys have to check that out. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Prepare yourself.
Our spring break episode.
Do you think it's going to be funnier or not as funny as the Christmas party episode?
Yeah.
What if we drank while playing?
I was going to say, you definitely have to drink something before you show up. Like, there's no way you can come to this sober. Like, that's crazy.
Old for that. I can't do it anymore. I had Sunday fun day last week. I didn't have class till 4:30 on Monday. I was on the couch all day.
Yeah.
I don't think I can do it.
Yeah, it does that. I have like 2 beers and I'm just like, oh, I've been trying to eat healthier. So I went to the doctor and they were like, you're 285. And like, I feel like I'm not fat, but I'm like, I'm pretty strong, but at the same time, I'm like 6'10", but he's just like, you need to, drop a few. And I'm like, yeah, I haven't been eating healthy. That's what happens when you get older. You just you're like, all right, I'm going to drink a beer now. No, because I've spent my entire life like, I can't drink this beer. I have practice tomorrow, a game tomorrow. Now I'm just like,
I was going to say, it's all that Guinness from.
Yeah, it is a lot of Guinness.
Episode
That's the drink of choice. Well, this is super cool. Again, Malik, thank you so much for joining us. We'll hit you up. We'll be in touch, and we'll talk to you next week for the podcast.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Malik. Good times.
Dom, can I have a question?
Dom again.
Thorough questions.
I love the thorough questions. Like it's one of those things that and it's fun because you guys are here on the show and it's so cool, but I feel like I'm just like, oh shit, that's a good question. Like I should be on, like, I don't know. Here's a fucking fun fact. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like I'm just, I show up to here and I'm just like, I know basketball. I know the experiences, but I'm like, I was never trained to be a reporter or like, a host or anything. I'm here and I'm just trying to have conversations. I'm just trying to hear people's stories. And I feel like I'm getting better. But like hearing, you go in and you're like naming names and stuff and really digging deep, I'm like, that's awesome. So it's like good to have that because I think that's huge, especially when it's me who's hosting the show and I'm just like, do you like popcorn? like, let's dig a little deeper. I'm like, oh, my fault.
So great call with the city game, Dom.
Yeah, it was great.
Fabulous.
It was awesome stuff.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Dom, this is awesome. We're really excited to have you. This is fun. And Dom Farrow joining us. And yeah, so the podcast, I have the North Shore podcast.
North Shore Station.
North Shore Station. So North Shore Pod. We'll put it up on the video and stuff so everyone can check it out. It's him, it's Dom Camden, and who else is in it?
Lucas Durazio. He's another DSTV member.
Nice. And Lucas. So yeah, go check that out, guys. Check out the podcast. Especially, hearing some fun things and some cool guys joining us and interning. It's been awesome. Good times. So everyone, thanks so much for joining us tonight. DJ John Hunt, keep you busy getting the DJ gigs started.
Yeah, man, we gotta get it back out to. I'm chomping at the bit to get us back out to the pubs and making the rounds. The live action, especially if we can get Michaela home back in South Jersey or take a road trip.
I think the road trip is necessary. I feel like there's a lot of those questions that came up that Michaela was asking about food, and like I'm really curious about this sandwich. Yeah, seriously. Wow. My doctor just told me I had to lose weight. I'm like, I'm coming to Pittsburgh to sample food for a weekend.
Eat a sandwich with French fries and coleslaw. And what else is on there, Dom? Dom, tell me about the sandwich again.
Any meat you want, some coleslaw, French fries, maybe throw an egg in there.
Ooh,
it's delicious. It's worth the trip alone.
All right.
I like that.
You guys remember the Schmitter?
Oh, the Schmitter's gross.
I didn't like
that. I almost threw up. I feel like I was drinking a lot before that, though.
What is that?
It was at when the
Citizens Bank just opened.
Park first opened up. Mike Schmidt had like a sandwich, and it was just like everything. I can't even remember. It had Thousand Island dressing on it, which is not my favorite. But I was just like, I don't know. But I went and had it once, and I was like, this is weirdly good.
I think there's like bologna in it. I remember there's like something like real elementary in it. Like, because I remember bologna was like that was like what my parents, because we didn't have any money, and they're like, oh, you want turkey? Yeah, here's bologna.
Don't shit on bologna, dude. I like a good bologna sandwich. A little mustard.
Bologna and ketchup.
Yes.
Like, okay.
It is really good. It's nostalgic for me, though, because I remember I moved into my dorm. My mom's with me, and my cousin and her friends with me, and they all moved me in, and I was like, oh, well, this place was on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, so we should try it, like never even thinking about it. We went down to the Market Square one time, like right in the middle of the city, and we sat out, and we had a permani sandwich, and it is really good, but it's you have to be in the mood for it. Like, it's so big, and like, it's essentially like you can get different kinds of sandwiches, but you always get like the coleslaw, French fries, and like sometimes they'll put tomatoes on it.
We should do an on location spot there.
Yeah.
That would be a good Market
That
Square.
would be
Yeah.
Gotta
That
go
would
to the
be
one,
cool.
the Strip District. The Strip District's the original.
Yeah, the OG.
Okay. I like all this. I like where our heads are at right now. We got to get this going.
Dom, you'll be back on when we do.
Yeah, Dom's.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
You guys are all going to be.
Better
I feel like just join the show and we'll just all. You guys will ask good questions and I'll sit here and
We'll eat sandwiches.
eat sandwiches. John, Michaela, thank you guys so much. Dom, great job today. Interning, would like to thank Malik Ellison for joining us and talking a little bit about his experience and his upcoming experience, kind of catching him on the upside. Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been the Overseas Famous Podcast. We'll see you guys next week for our spring break special. Stay out of trouble.
Who else really tryna with Hollywood Code? I'm with Marley G, bro, flying Holly Grove chicks to my Hollywood shows. And I wanna tell you something that you probably should know. This that Slumdog Millionaire Bollywood flow. And my real friends never hearing from me. Fake friends write the wrong answers on the mirror for me. That's why I pick and choose. I don't get you confused. I got a small circle. I'm not with different crews. We walk the same path, but got on different shoes. Live in the same building, but we got different views. I got a couple cars I never get to use. Don't like my women single. I like my chicks in twos. And these days, all the girls is down the road. I hit the strip club and all them bitches find the pole. Plus I've been sipping, so this shit is moving kinda slow. Just tell my girl to tell a friend that it's time to go. Now tell me how you love it. You know you at the top and all the heavens right above it. We own. It's Young Money, motherfucker. If you ain't running with it, run from it, motherfucker. Alright, now somebody show some money in this bitch. And I got my bees with me like some honey in this bitch. You dig? I got my gun in my boot purse and I don't bust back because I shoot first. Meet me on the fresh train. Yes, I'm in the building.